All right, let's go ahead. Call the Sandy City Council meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Jeff, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilor Pietzel.
Here.
Councilor Smallwood.
Here.
Councilor Sheldon. Here. Councilor Walker.
Here.
Councilor Exner.
Here.
Councilor Hokanson.
Here.
Mayor Pulliam.
Here. All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's good to be again. It's like it's starting to become routine to be in person again. This is outstanding. We'll go ahead and kind of do a quick review of our meeting agenda this evening. We will be calling for any changes to the agenda. We'll then be going into public comment. That's the opportunity for members of the public to either virtually or here in person provide public comment. We do have a sign up process that's in place now. We neither had anybody sign up for virtual testimony or for in person for this evening. We will then be going to the consent agenda. Tonight, we have our Sandy City Council meeting minutes from our July 6th City Council meeting, as well as a transit Title IX plan update. Is that the right number or is that 6? I'm so bad at that stuff. If it's not next to Rocky, I don't know what it is. 6. Okay. Then we'll be going on to resolutions. Resolution 2021-21, declaration of the public necessity for the Bell Street to 362nd Extension project. We'll then be having a report from the city manager, our committee and council reports, and then we will look to adjourn for this evening. With that, is there any proposed changes to tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and go to public comment. As I mentioned earlier, nobody testified for either a virtual or in-person testimony for this evening. So we'll move ahead to the consent agenda as our city council meeting minutes in the transit Title VI plan update. Is there a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the transit.
It's just the full consent agenda.
Oh, the full consent agenda. I'm sorry, I thought we were at the other thing. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilor Sheldon, a second by Councilor Smallwood. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed to nay. Motion carries. All right, resolution 2021-21, declaration of a public necessity for the Bell Street to 362nd Extension project. Jordan and Mike, welcome.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll introduce Mike Walker, our Public Works Director, who's going to give the staff report. I'll just say this is our next step for you in our #1 transportation project, the 362nd and Bell Street extension. Tonight we're asking council to pass a resolution to adopt a resolution of public necessity for this project, which kicks off formally the right-of-way acquisition project process for this important project. I'll let Mike go kind of into the detail on this. I know the staff report had some attachments that were rather large, but sort of important in terms of the legal and sort of statutory process for acquiring property for this type of project. Mike, I'm sure Mike will talk about sort of that process a little bit and what's next with the project.
Yeah, as Jordan pointed out, this is the first step in the process. I don't know if it's a statutory requirement, but the most right-of-way acquisition processes can't take place until a resolution of this type has been adopted. You know, it's a declaration of public necessity, so it would follow that there has to be some sort of identified public need to begin the process to acquire land from property owners. And so this is as Jordan pointed out, this is the first step in the process. This doesn't initiate any proceedings to acquire the right-of-way. It just is something that the consultant, Epic Land Solutions, is going to contact the property owners on the city's behalf, needs to begin the process. So as I explained in the staff report, there's about 7¼ acres that would be necessary for the road right-of-way and about 2¼ acres that would be necessary for slope easements, either fills or cuts to support the right-of-way. The appraisals would include the value of the land based on comparables, just like pretty similar to a residential appraisal you get on a home. They use comparables to determine the value of the land. And, if there's merchantable timber, that's included in a appraisal. And if there is, improvements, buildings, businesses in the proposed right-of-way area, the value of those would be established as well, and there'd be compensation provided for improvements as well as the land. And I include a copy of the information packet that will be mailed out to all property owners. I understand the letters will go out tomorrow, and the letter isn't in there, but at least the information packet that they provide to the property owners. I see some of the property owners are here tonight, so maybe the letters have already gone out. I was gone for a little bit last week, so I'm not sure if the letters have gone out yet. But if they haven't gone out, they will go out soon. And that's the first step in the process. It kind of explains the process to the property owners. The property owners have the ability to accompany the appraiser when they enter onto their property to perform the appraisal. And after the initial offer is, after the appraisal is completed, the property owners have 40 days to review it. And then the city can make an offer based on the appraised value of the taking. And,
I apologize, but those are all mandatory. You got to wait the 40 days and that's all. in the
Correct.
statute.
Yeah. And this is all, I don't have the entire packet with me. I think it's all explained in the notice that went out to the property owners, or that will go out. And, as I've worked for the city for a long time. And we don't do many of these, but I can say that the city has never had to go to court to a trial for adjudication of acquisition of right of way. We've always been able to successfully negotiate reasonable compensation with the property owners. And that would be the city's intent in this process as well.
All right, is there questions from council?
What's the width of the easement, and does it include, like, we talked about the utilities and things like that, and does it include sidewalks and all that?
It varies, but for the most part, it's going to be 66 feet wide. That'll be, and I've allowed enough room for 2 travel lanes, 2 bike lanes, a center turn lane or median, plus room for a sidewalk on both sides of the street. We only intend to construct a sidewalk on the, I believe it's the south side of, no, I'm sorry, the south side of Bell and on the east side of 362nd. So the right of way width varies in places. Some places it's wider, some places it's narrower, like where the crossings of the wetlands are, it's a little wider there. So the bridge structure that will cross the wetlands can fit within the right of way.
So if we were doing these utilities and all, would that be included in that easement?
Yeah, utilities would fit inside the right of way.
Questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2021, declaration of the public necessity for the Bell Street second extension project.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Smallwood, a second by Counselor Exner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, I know we're all very excited to see the project move ahead and happen. So thank you, appreciate it. All right, with that, report from our city manager.
Sure, I'll jump in first just to add some flavor to the last item. Where we're at with that project, given we have a few of the property owners here too, and they'll get this information as letters go out and we start engaging on the appraisal and acquisition process. But we have the 30% design that's complete, and so we have a construction sort of estimate with that 30%. Of course, we're going to watch what the 60% estimate comes in at, given sort of the inflation that we've seen. So we're going to be watching that carefully. We did already sell the full faith and credit obligations for the project. So we have the funding secured. That's backed by the street fund revenues that we get. Planning Commission is coming up in the next couple months for the land use process. There is the FSH overlay issue that needs to go to the Planning Commission for that portion. Partition, I think, with this project as well. And then an annexation of the right of way and I think one of the properties there off of Bell Street, one property that will be going directly to city council for the annexation, or are we taking that through the planning
Well,
commission?
since we have to go through the process for the FSH review, we might as well just roll it all into one. It's not direct council.
And so overall, we're still making progress. The project has slowed a little bit, and really it came down to the appraisals and this legal descriptions being written up. A lot of that was, again, kind of out of our control with the busyness of the appraisers out there. So the schedule has slid a little bit, but we're hoping to make up some time as we go through the planning commission process and stuff. So can't say at this point when it's going out to bid, but we may not see dirt move this fall. May have to wait depending on the weather and how fast we can get through the next these next land use hurdles.
So where my worry is obviously we have other projects that get delayed as a result of material and the supply chain and all that. So knowing that that's the world we're living in, are there things that we're doing to mitigate against that, knowing we're going to have that in the future?
That's a great question and good advice. I think take that up with HHPR and see if there's any kind of early work packages or early bidding that we can do at this point versus waiting until a whole year to bid this out.
Yeah, this is not as complex as, the wastewater treatment plant project. Aren't machines or equipment that has to be purchased. It's pretty much earthwork, paving, concrete, some pipe. That's about it. So it's not, so I don't think those would affect any sort of delays in producing those materials would affect this project to the same extent it has at the wastewater treatment.
Priming the market for labor shortages and things like that.
That's
Like
what
letting
I
them
was,
know
what I was gonna
that's
ask.
the project.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
significant labor.
Well, you got
shortages.
labor shortage, but you also have money flowing. And so we're not the only community that's excited to build a road this year, right? I think there's a lot of communities that are going to be able to afford projects that they haven't been able to for a lot of years. So just making sure that, so we're not all going to the contractors at the same time. I'd love to find a way to get ahead of the queue a little bit for that.
We got the advantage that we're got a good head start on the design, so this project's essentially shovel ready at this point that we got close to 60% design. So got a little head start from everyone else in that regard. So light agenda tonight, we had a few things pushed, but it doesn't impact any of the scheduling with the wastewater treatment or collection system. They're still working hard on Basin 8. You've seen the construction activity out there. So we'll have the GMP for Basin 2 in front of the council at the next meeting in August, August 16th. And that right now, I believe we've seen the draft come in and that's close to our estimated cost on that. So the advantage on that one is Oxbow was brought on early. They had the material, they're working with us now. So I think we're looking at around that $2 million for that GMP. So that'll be in front of you in August. We also have the state revolving fund loan amendment coming. And this is part of that funding package that we have for the whole wastewater system improvements project, where we're getting state funding through DEQ at 1.2% or something for that. So we're looking to maximize that loan. And then we're also on target to submit our application to WIFIA here in September. So we're working on that too. We'll have a press release soon. We have it ready to go. Waiting for just polishing up some quotes. And then also the governor needs to sign the bill here.
I'd like to
any
wait.
day.
I'd like to wait for that.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of waiting for. But I think she has 30 days to do it. So coming up on that deadline soon. On Friday, I shared the progress report or 6-month progress report on council goals. If you saw that, I think we're on, we got a good head start or a good start to a lot of those goals. A lot of action already from the council and getting things in front of you. And we'll have plenty of busy meetings coming up in the fall to continue work on those goals. I know there's a lot of task force and subcommittees, and council's been pretty engaged in a lot of those goals so far. And then finally, our recruitment for the Parks and Recreation Director position is live and out there, already generated some interest. So we're excited to see that. And if you haven't seen it, we've kind of had a team approach, but Thea from the library and Angie did a really good job putting together the materials on that, the brochures and the online recruitment. So proud of our staff's work on that. And looking forward to filling that here in the next month or so.
quick question on the WIFIA. You'd mentioned a couple weeks ago, we could get a larger percentage of our, of the project finance. So that ended up going through. What percentage are we looking at now?
Up to 80%
Great.
total project costs. Yep.
And then it's deferred payments begin 5 years
5
after.
years.
That's good. Yeah. Don?
Thanks. I feel like I should talk for an hour.
No, don't.
Yeah, holy smokes, man.
Someone jinxed us.
Oh, man.
Carl.
I know.
So first question, do we have a date for the fireworks celebration yet? Is that firmed up?
Not firmed yet.
Do we have a rate? When will it get firm? And we have a range we're looking at.
We do have a range. We've pitched some different ideas, and I think at some point we'll like your input on this, because we flirted with the idea of, including it with the 110 birthday celebration, but
That's
the
all
problem
year.
there, it's in August.
That's all year. It's all year.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah. And then, could we do it on our birthday, which, September 11th, and maybe not the best time to put up fireworks, which is a weekend.
Well,
Halloween came up as an idea, people are out there walking, it could be fun to have the lights.
Why don't we call the chamber and do it during their September music fair and feast? Or I don't know. I mean, that gets into September. Maybe it's not September's can be dry though. I know that's what we're trying to avoid with 110. To Don's point though, I mean, don't we use it or lose it in January, I believe.
Yeah, well, you can always do it,
So
New
Halloween
Year's
almost always
celebration.
rains.
Yeah.
right.
Almost always rains. I mean,
Yes.
occasionally we have a nice one.
Yeah.
But if we go out that long, we're gonna have serious rain problems. So I personally like the September time frame.
It's darker sooner too. So it's, kids are
A
back
bit
in
earlier,
school,
but
you
kids
have
are
those issues, bedtimes and things like that.
Is there a homecoming or something?
Yeah, we homecoming came up. So
We haven't had a
smarter
very
people
cool
than me are working on
homecoming
it.
in 2
I'm
years.
sure if we did the fireworks, it'd be
Probably,
cool.
right.
I don't have any problem co-branding.
Yeah.
I think we just need to do it, get it
I agree.
scheduled and get everybody planning on it. So that's why I throw that out there. On our aquatics committee, things are moving along. We have the team, the sports is organized. They have a leader, chair and co-chair and the draft work plan. So I think that's they're meeting together this week and starting to work through that. As far as the aquatics, we are working on an idea for a statement of work to get a consultant to kind of help us with the broader integration as we talked about before. So that's something that I hope that we can bring forth in the urban renewal meeting a month from now. And finally, just a couple nit things, I guess. The pavilion down in Minot Park, because I've been walking the last couple times, I've noticed has some cross braces on it that are loose. And it actually is listing a little bit. I don't know who's in charge of chickening those things. It's been that way for a while. Those cross braces need to be tightened up so it's squared up. Otherwise, we can lose it down the road if it continues, I would assume. So let's see. The question on the parks director, I read through the job descriptions. I didn't see any mention of pool or pool experience. Is there a reason for that omission?
No, it's actually, if it's not in the supplemental questions, we'll ask about that for sure.
And I don't know that we need a pool expert, because I assume you would hire somebody for a pool down the road if we. went-
Exactly. And I know the council's probably familiar with the history, but we were looking for that in particular with the last one. And I think if you look at the position profile and what we're looking for here, you're going to want somebody who has a lot of experience, not just pools or senior centers, but maybe community centers that have a pool component or something.
I'm okay with that. It was just like there was nothing there. All right, that's it for
One, not just attract pool people. But
Right. Yeah. Carl.
A couple questions. I'm not sure if this is a Jordan or my question. I see some people doing surveying. I noticed the ODOT symbol on the side of the pickups. So assuming that means that they are doing some surveying and preliminary. What's the status of our sidewalk between here and this loop?
Well, they've asked for more money. So, we're trying to resolve that and see exactly what the need is before it can go out to bid. But still, we're still shooting for a October bid letting for that. And I think the survey work you see in the couplet at least is for the ADA ramp project. Those all get surveyed.
Saw some stuff on down the road, almost across the street from Lang and Sands.
Mhm.
I saw some surveying going on in there. I don't know what else would be going on there unless somebody in a house has got some concerns, but I did see ODOT.
It's probably for the sidewalk project, and they may have to go back out and gather a few more shots in a couple of places.
All right. I'm excited to see something going on there. It's been a while. Did have a meeting the other night with Clackamas Watershed Council, and really excited about some of the things that they've done. They've submitted, both councils have submitted letters to the city about what they would like to do and see and help with. So not always everything is perfect, not always everything is upbeat, but a lot of good positive comments about they'd like to help and like to be part of the planning. So glad to see that they are getting involved. And I think I sent a note out earlier this past week talking about how our particular river, Sandy River, is doing very well for the winter heat. And so I'm really pleased about that. The work I heard from the ODF&W biologists over on the Clackamas was that they're losing a lot of hatchery fish, and they're seeing a lot of concerns with some of the wild fish coming up. And the river is starting to approach 70 degrees, which is really hot for a river the size of the Clackamas. One of the things that came up, which I thought was pretty exciting, was that to think about is if you're in the river itself, and some of these deep pools are the places for not only fun for swimming and cooling and so on, it's also a great place for the fish to be able to cool and be safe and so on. So if you're in there splashing around, and you think about what you're doing, because that will scare the fish out of those deep ponds and move them over into the more shallow parts of the river. And of course, that's where the warmer water is. So it's really a unique idea. I don't know if people can actually see if there's a lot of salmon inside that deep pool that they're playing around in, but something to be aware of and watching what's going on there. So really something to think about. As far as the 110th anniversary coming up, if you haven't noticed, you should take a look at the mural that's on the side of the building there that faces the plaza. It's really coming along well. I know that the artist is just doing a lot of work. We're going to keep very much up to her schedule, and her plan is to have that completed by the time the 28th of August shows up. And so they're doing a number of different events in that, hoping that there'll be some activity around that way. Got to move back to the watershed thing. I almost forgot. One of the things that we did on Thursday night was that they would love to come and tour, the Watershed Council would, our facility down on Tickle Creek. And they suggested, and it kind of sounds like it's going to work out, for the 19th of August. They would like to do a meeting for their own meeting here in Sandy, possibly at Mining Park. Depends on what the heat is like and all that. And they would like to invite the city council to show up. It's about a 6:30 to about an 8 o'clock timeframe. Chatting with Jordan, and it sounds like that's a possibility. They don't see any big conflicts for that particular Thursday night. They would love to be able to have a review of what's happened in the past, what's going on now. And so there's some conversations that we provide. And then at the very end, after a short amount of food and conversation, they go out and take a look at the water treatment plant somewhere around 8 o'clock or so. So I would like to extend a personal invitation to all the city council.
And going to the treatment plant.
Just not together.
Very different locations.
Different locations.
They want to do the eating and there's some administration things that they normally do, but also listen to what some of our engineers might be wanting to share about where things are, how things are currently going on. I'm trying to keep them updated in the general format, so I don't have all the details that engineer would have, but it would be a great opportunity for city council, those who have that open evening, to touch base with a watershed council that's really trying hard to be a partner with us. Put that on your schedule if you think you can make that. It'd be something on the order of 6:30 through about an 8:30 timeframe. And we'll get more out for you as we get more information, because the two entities need to talk and make sure everything is right. Who's going to pay for the water, who talks, and that kind of stuff.
So, but I just want to be clear on what's happening with the event, though. Is our staff currently working with the Clackamas Watershed Council to put together an event on August 19th that we're all invited to? I just.
We just today talked about it. So
Oh,
it's-
okay. Oh, yeah.
So one of the things we just want to do is, we got an agreement between the two organizations, says the 19th sounds like it's a good time. We haven't really done much beyond that, other
Okay.
than we want to tour the water.
We may want to make sure it works for key staff members that we would want to make sure are there and stuff on that day. So anyways, yeah, no, let's just, I think whether it's on the 19th or another day, or not that everybody has to be there. Where I sit on is I think it's great to work with the Clackamas Watershed Council and keep ongoing dialogue. So thank you for your leadership in that. Yeah.
So if there's more than 4 of us, does that become an open meeting?
It just
Work
becomes a
session?
meeting that we have to declare publicly as taking place, but it doesn't preclude us from having more than 4.
There are certainly several details that need to be ironed out between them, but I just wanted to,
Yeah.
that just came up today, and so I wanted to make sure you had it on
Yeah.
your calendar. As we progress, I'm sure we will all let you know. Could very well do that, especially if it's 110 degrees. We're not going to want to meet out.
Yeah, I would say big picture though, sounds like something we would absolutely want to do, right?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, John will be happy not to be there.
If it's a hot day, it'll be certainly impactful on those, Yes. and that's all I have.
Hey, thank you. Kathleen.
I'm excited about the gazebos getting put up for dining. That's just something that we love to sit outside in the summertime and eat. And a lot of times we had to go to other towns and stuff to get that. So thrilled to see that happen here. It's a great partnership to help businesses and economic development. I was kind of curious of whether does that end up being kind of an additional property tax assessment or something at some point in time or something. I don't know. That's,
Adds value to the property for sure.
yeah, so that's, I guess, the one downside maybe. But since we paid for most of it, then at least we've got that investment. So one of the concerns that I'll bring up is that I have heard and seen some pretty maybe sketchy folks that appear to be homeless because they're quite a bit and in the evening and homeless in Mining Park. And I've seen that on Facebook. Other people have seen it and stuff. So I'm just curious, Ernie, have you, I want to hear from Chief Roberts on whether or not anything's being done about that, but I'll finish my little list. The job that Jeff did on our proposal for civility and respect, I really enjoyed reading that. I thought it was well written. It seems to encompass our goals of civility and respect. I would tend to suggest that we actually add that attachment to all permits that are let for the rental of the plaza, and also possibly even just post a copy of it at the plaza. I'm excited beyond words about the Parks and Recreation Director. That role is going to be so critical when you think about it. You know, everybody, really nobody knows Mike does the water and the sewer and all that. And, not everybody knows all the officers in town and all, or the transit director and all. But the community services, the recreation programs, the parks and trails and all that are the things that touch people, almost every resident here in Sandy. And so that position is going to be really critical to kind of really building that program. And then I would want to, Jordan, if you can just check on the update on the grant application for John's Viewpoint, the live cam from John's Viewpoint. I think they were going to be doing something in June. So I'd just be curious if there was, we submitted it back in, what was that, March or something, April or something like that. So I'm just curious if there's any update on whether we got it or what the feedback was. So yeah, and I would be curious about if Chief Roberts could kind of address any issues with the homeless there in Mining.
Of course. We've had a few additional calls for the park. Of course, we have folks that take all those calls when they do come in. Some of them are coming in on our Facebook as well too. we have patrols in there nightly, foot patrols. We try to get in and out of there. Sometimes when they're back in the corner, it's a little tough to, unless we go back in there and look. So that's a lot of where I'm come from. Kimberly Court, where you have that other trail that goes into the back. And then along that eastern edge of the property, it's kind of wooded there. So, you know, you have to get out there and walk in there and check. And some of those calls that come in are from that trail that goes kind of up there. So whenever the calls come in, we do go check. We move them along, of course. And then we have nightly patrols, and the guys get out there whenever they can on foot, mostly in the evening. The park's closed dusk, so that's good for us because we can enforce that rule. So we definitely have them move along from there when the park's closed.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Good, thank you. Rich? Yeah. So last Saturday, I went to the football grand opening.
Yeah.
We good about that? Full disclosure, I had to Google what pickleball was. Actually, my kiddo Googled it for me, but it was cool to see. I didn't realize it was as big a sport as it is. But I do think that Carol and the people that assisted her deserve public thanking for the work that she's put into that. So that was super neat to see. And then with that being said, so with the question towards Jordan, the Parks and Recreation Director. So I'm assuming that once that person comes on board, maybe we'll see some traction moving forward with getting things like the community center open and that side of engagement that seems to have really been died off. Obviously, pickleball has kind of a demographic and an older demographic. And so out there, I got to hear a lot about how everything has been shut down. And so I do think that's a population that I want to continue to see get engaged, and that has been hugely affected by COVID. And so my hope is whenever this person comes on that, or even sooner somehow, that we start to see some traction going back into services like that. I think they're super important.
Sorry, just what's going on? We have vaccines out, you know, why aren't we open?
Yeah, the same story as before. I mean, we have 3 staff members working at the community center right now. And it wasn't until, you know, last month that we got clearance that we can open the community center, or senior center is going to be open. So staff are currently working on ideas for getting seniors back in and opening up the doors for, you know, coming in and having programs and gatherings. But, you know, in terms of congregate meals, you know, we still have to get kitchen workers and get that machine going back.
So it's staffing.
Yeah, it's mostly staffing because we're not just down the Parks and Recreation Director, we're down the senior services manager position, we're down kitchen workers, we're down drivers, and the whole gamut. But like I said, Sarah and Carol, they're working on ideas, and Olga is out there, you know, meeting with seniors and talking with seniors. So, and we've had organizations start approaching us now and using the community center again. So they're working on it, try to get that thing back open and running. And you know, Sarah and Carol worked on programming for this summer. There's a lot of like Skyhawks and stuff like that that's going on. So, you know, we're slowly getting there, but yeah, staffing is the big strength for us right now.
It sounds like they're doing what they can with what they have, but exactly, it would just be good to see it start coming back to what it once was. So
Yeah. And beyond.
And beyond, yes. Let's see. Great one.
All right. Mine's also going to be short. So kind of going back to the handicap upgrades to the sidewalks, otherwise known as bump outs. Have we talked about or thought about putting no parking on the opposing side of those coming down Proctor? Because it makes it very difficult if there's a car on the adjacent side for a large truck to get through. It actually makes it impossible. So, for example, directly across from those handicap spots, larger vehicles can't make that turn at all if there's a car parked there. So I don't know if we've looked at that.
truck.
Specifically large red trucks, but if large red trucks can't do it, other large trucks can't either. So,
Okay, yeah, well, we can reach out to ODOT. Maybe they can paint it or something.
yeah, that'd be awesome. So just, I happened to notice that the other day and thought, oh, if somebody's parked here, we'll never
And
make this
one of the
corner.
issues was losing parking with these things, right?
I know.
So they were up against that
Yeah,
pressure of
that's
not
right.
losing
And I-
more, but
Yep.
now we got mobility issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Are you talking about turning from one of the main roads onto the little
So
Street
on the,
or-
from Proctor, so from Proctor
Okay.
to any of the through roads to Pioneer, any large vehicle can't make those because that bump out now is so far that they would actually have to move into the right-hand lane to make that turn if there's a car parked on the curb.
So does that mean that the no parking would be on the city street or the ODOT street? That's what it looks, it's. I
It
think
would
you're
be
talking
on
about the
like
city
Bruns and Shelley and all of those.
Those are
Yeah,
ours
so
now.
it's the city street.
Yeah.
That it would,
Yeah, we could pay, but
or we make it,
ODOT's project. If we can.
Yeah,
It might be at least worth looking at, maybe having a conversation because yeah, it will be a problem.
or we set one of them for trucks and the rest of them
yeah.
for no trucks.
Except
That
for the
could-
big red truck.
That could be, except the big red truck will always have to go down those.
Fair.
I hear they push cars out of the way.
Anyway, it's not something that people would normally think about, and I hadn't until I went to make a turn the other day and went, this isn't going to work. So anyway, just kind of a heads up. That's all I got.
Great. Jeremy.
I'll keep it quick. A lot of people have already said a lot of things I'd say, except I do want to add on to Rich is the pickleball thing, because I know when I was representing the Parks Board here on council many years ago, my parents were always in the back of my ear, pickleball is the biggest growing thing in the world. I know Kathleen heard me say this, and so I was out of town during the ribbon cutting, but my parents were definitely there, and Carol was texting me, emailing me, going, make sure your parents are there. They said it was great, amazing. They had so much fun. They were so excited and paid their memberships. And the only downside too is they were telling me that there would be a lot more people at that ribbon cutting, except there was like 6 different pickleball tournaments going on.
Oh, wow.
And so these people travel and do this thing months in advance. And so they're pretty darn excited. They're also excited that there might be pickleball courts other than the Cedar Ridge campus because it's closed during the day when they like to play. As Rich pointed out, a lot of them are retired. Like my parents are, and many of the ones they play with are in the middle of the mornings or whatever. But, so they're looking forward to that. I know a huge community around San Diego is looking forward to that. So great job to Carol.
Yep.
Kudos. And the rest of the Parks Board.
All right, my report, I'll keep quick. Sandy Mountain Festival, I just want to say it was a void this year, not having it. And I think especially it being on a 2-year hiatus, certainly we understand their private committee, with a lot going on, all volunteers, but let's hopefully as a city, we can all come together, show those folks some support. It's hard to bring events back. I remember talking to Lynn Snodgrass, who was so instrumental in the jazz festival and stuff for a lot of years. Once a community loses a festival like that, they're so integral to the fabric of who we are. So I just think we need some increased leadership just as a community, to really make sure we get that event up and going and help that committee out. And then I wanted to bring up, it's time for emergency plan work session. I think back to, we had our emergency plan session about just a couple months before COVID hit. And so we are so glad that we ended up doing it. I think all our questions were on earthquakes and maybe like freezes, like snow events. And here we ended up with pandemics and wildfires and everything else. So it's just important to make sure that we're all kind of update from both staff responsibilities to us as counselors and everything else. So be kind of looking out for that work session. And I think you'll find that you want to be there because you never know when you're going to be in an emergency, as we've all learned. So with that, it was a quick meeting. Got out of here pretty good.
And that's your shortest.
Shortest. I don't know if it's the shortest, but it's one of them. Yeah, it's good. All right, thanks everybody. We'll adjourn tonight's meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to. Karen.